This is brought to you by the Oregon City Revolving Council, also known as the CIC, and that represents all the other neighborhood associations in Oregon City. This event is first sponsored by the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Coalition, and the Main Street Oregon City, the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association, and the Adamant Center. So thank you to our sponsors. Also thank also to the Atlanta Fall Media Center, Melanie Ashford, who will be recording this for future release at the One City website. Let me introduce my fellow officers on the CIC. Our Vice Chair, Betty Long, Betty Bigway. Our Secretary, William Gifford, was here earlier, but we had to leave for the Planning Commission meeting. He's giving testimony this evening. This whole county's forum, the fact could not have taken place if it wasn't for William, because of a lot of hard work effort into this. This is the second time doing this, I believe it's the second time. And we'll have to thank William when he returns later, because he does a heck of a job doing our organization for this. We're here tonight to listen and learn more about our candidates for public office here in Oregon City. It may be not here for presidential politics, but it's a very important year for our city commission, for the mayor's position, and two commissioner positions in Auburn. We wish our candidates a successful evening. And with that, we would like to thank the legal room and board for providing us this evening's impartial moderator. She will explain the process for the evening. Questions for Solomon, we have from all the sponsoring entities, as well as the neighborhood associations. The list is presented to our moderator, and she will ask those questions this evening. Our moderator is Christian Ryan, and we're so lucky she is here this evening. I got a call about 5:45. You heard on the news, the accident on May 2nd, she was sandwiched in between two vehicles, and they had to actually pull her bumper off to get her here tonight. It's never had to see. Christine Townsend has successfully served as the president, CEO of Synergy Consulting, Inc. since 1988 in Portland, Oregon. Synergy provides customized software programming in the energy industry. She's also been a member and corporate affiliate of Legal Women Voters since 2002. She's chaired the Oregon Small Business for Responsible Leadership since 2004. Chair of the Government Small Business Council, and as William once said, the list can go on. It's part of this for a full page, so I think we'll dispense with that. Turn it right over to Christine.
I would like to also introduce Heather Drake and Lauren James, they're the timekeepers. She's waiting again. They are longtime members of the Legal Women Voters. Okay, first, I'd like to start with the format of the candidates forum. Each candidate will have 1 minute to introduce themselves. Then we will have the period questions that we receive from the sponsors. There will be 6 questions. If we have time, we'll have an additional one. And each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Then we'll have questions from the audience. Each person will only have 5 seconds to ask a question to identify a specific candidate that question. You can ask them, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Then each candidate will ask one of their opponents a question. You will have 5 seconds to do that, and the opponent will have 1 minute to respond. Heather and Lori will put up a yellow card, because there's 10 seconds left, and then a red card when time is up. And we will stick to the time. So we'll start with Paul. So 1 minute to introduce yourself.
This is Paul. I'm Paul Edgar. I'm a young 7-year-old. I may not be as politically correct as everyone out here, but what will differently is honesty, integrity, and a person who cares and has critical thinking skills. I make a living in the business automation consulting world for most of my life. I run small businesses for 25 years. Before that, big corporations. I understand how to make businesses efficient, how to think about how to make the decisions that are necessary. And there are many of them when they're running a business. I've been married 48 years. I have 2 children with a total of 60 years of college. I know how to make good decisions. I married up. Thank you. My name is James Hamilton. I live at 3rd and Center with my lovely wife, Terry. Some of you might know her at the back of the room there, standing diligently. I believe that I could come and help the city of Oregon City to some degree with my background in business and as a philanthropist. I've been pretty much in outreach and administrating organizations and nonprofits most of my life. And on the corporate side, I've been into building thrift stores and organizations and supported other organizations. So for me to look at the city, I look at it as one big building that has great many tools that are scattered abroad, and they need to collectively be brought together and utilized for the good of this city. As far as a politician, I have really no experience in that arena. However, I've been on the fringe of a lot of stuff. Vision 2020, United Way in 1992 under Bill Clinton, and basically, that's pretty much my story.
I'm Doug Moore, currently on the City Commission. I served on the City Commission for a total of 12 years. I was on for 8 because the terms was on for 2 and came on for another 4. Before I went on the City Commission, I lived here about 21 years ago. It was an easy community to become involved in. It got involved with a group called the OLD Forum, which they were persons anymore, but it had people that were interested in historic buildings around the city. Eventually joined the library board, was the chair of the library board for 2 years. The issues that were happening in the steep slopes of Oregon City were the things that drove me to run for the City Commission. I was out for 2 years. I became a member of the Traffic Advisory Committee, and I also served on the Parks and Recreation Committee, so I've got a feeling of, I think, various of the programs we have here. And anyway, I'm running this now because I feel I have the necessary experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Daphne West, and I'd like to thank you all for the privilege of serving this community the last 4 years. At this election time, our community faces many challenges and decisions. State unemployment is over 10%, and Oregon City was recently listed as one of the Portland area's top 10 zip codes with a high foreclosure rate. But the news is not all gloom and doom for Oregon City. The largest development opportunity that ever hit Oregon City is waiting at the doorstep, promising hundreds of jobs and business opportunities for our residents. In spite of this current recession, our newly created Main Street program has got off to a great start and has opened 18 new businesses in the last 2 years. We have created and sponsored many new successful events, such as the First Friday Art Walk, the Antique Car Show, that have brought thousands of people into our downtown area, in turn helping to support our local businesses. However, these successes don't come without challenges, hard work, and leadership. Tonight I am asking for 4 more years to continue this progress. Dan?
Hi, my name is Dan Holiday. Most of you folks, or many of you folks know who I am. I served 4 years on the City Commission. I served on the Oregon City School Board. I served on numerous county and city committees over the last 20 years or so. I grew up here in Oregon City. I've raised my 3 kids here. I currently am a coach for the Army JROTC unit at Oregon City High School. So I have a deep-seated love of this town and this community, and I want to work really hard to bring us back from the brink that we're currently at. And one of the ways that we're going to have to do that is to find a way to create jobs and stimulate business in Oregon City. And that's my prime objective in running for City Commission, is to help us bring new family wage jobs to Oregon City, specifically in the light industrial and manufacturing sector. My name is Dan Holiday. Thank you.
And Kathy Roth. I would like to be a new City Commissioner, position number 1. I started this journey because I wanted to stop Public Works from developing their new facility at the base of Waterboard Park, a major landslide. But the more I delved into city politics, the more I discovered the deliberate lack of transparency, the concerted effort to shut out public opinion, and a general elitist attitude toward the political process. My family came here 140 years ago to the Oregon City area. I'm an Oregonian, born and raised here. I don't believe that those are Oregonian values, and I would like to see Oregonian values brought back to our city politics. I hope you provide me with the opportunity to lead Oregon City to a sustainable future. Thank you.
Being I'm Norm Stewart, I was caught by surprise. I normally bring in the tailgate, but then I'm next to me tonight. I'm an Oregon City resident. I've been since 1968, but our first home in 69. I'm a professional educator primarily in the private sector. I'm a business owner and manager, and I've been in a number of different businesses over the years here in Oregon City and in Clackamas County. Government, I serve on the City Council of Mount Angel as a councilman, Commissioner of Public Safety. I serve on the City Association of Mount Angel as a city recorder, and then the recorder's court was changed to a municipal judgeship. So I stepped down and was elected municipal judge where I served for 5 years. Thank you. My wife and I are happily married. I've been for 53 years. And we plan to make our home here. I'd love to serve you folks in the coming election.
Good evening. I'm Betty Mann. I'm running for position number 4. I've called the Oregon City my home for over 40 years. Throughout that time, I've been involved in many different activities at the school, school work and community services. The latest endeavor that I've done is with the CIC, helping to reactivate that. That's the Citizen Involvement Council. I currently serve on the Transportation Advisory Committee. If given the opportunity, I'd like to continue to move our city forward by building trust through transparency in government, seeking resources to attract jobs to our community, and encourage development at the northern gateway of our city. Thank you, and remember, mom's the word.
Thank you. Our first prepared question. What specific economic strategies should the city implement to increase jobs? Who will start with James?
The economic strategies for
What specific economic strategies should the city implement to increase jobs?
I think one of the first things we should do is stop outsourcing our talent every single day. Most of our talent is doing U-turns in the driveways in Oregon City, Oregon, and going somewhere else. But interestingly, people from other areas are coming here. The guy testing my water is from Washougal, Washington. The lady running the medical center is from outside the city. Do we have any jobs for people here in the city? That would be my question. But I think what we need to do, to part of your answer your question, is we need to revitalize our city by bringing our jobs and our creativity back in here and stop sending it out by opening up the city for the entrepreneurs and other developments to come forth. I can't see another answer actually to doing anything else other than that. We just have to redirect what we're already spending on other projects, in all honesty. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, could you also, Doug, bring the microphone closer to us so we can hear you better?
Yes. So, my question is to me, I think that one of the long-term things we need to look at is where we have some potential high-wage possibilities. Several years ago, the City Commission recommended that the area around the college be brought into the urban growth boundary. And the intent is to create job-based activities there that could be tied into the kinds of programs the Clackamas Community College could contribute to and also have a job-based movement. In fact, if we haven't had the kind of communications with the college that we need, one of the priorities that I would set forward is to identify the kinds of jobs that we could bring into the area around the college that would benefit both the college directly and the students that the college produces. Dr. Wilson just mentioned the Great Main Street program. They're looking to have an economic and public district. Is that what it's referred to? with their own money. So that's an area that I think we should support strongly.
Thank you. Kathy? First of all, the city currently uses a multilateral approach to economic development, meaning that we're working on multiple things in multiple areas at one time. So when I give my list tonight, these are not necessarily in a prioritized way. I'd like us to continue to use urban renewal, invest in potential landfill projects in Oregon City, because these projects would provide hundreds of jobs and assessed value for the city. And as Doug was saying, we need to continue to work with property owners in the Beaver Creek area to get our employment landscape certified. We also have the potential to develop 125 more acres out in the Beaver Creek concept plan area if the properties were annexed into the city limits. As far as Main Street, Doug was saying that we're looking for a long-term funding mechanism for that program, and if successful, I would hope that when on the council, I would recommend to the city that they match the Main Street funding dollar for dollar so that we could leverage their money for more opportunities and income. Thank you, Anthony.
Well, you asked for specifics. So I was on the city commission and advocated for bringing the acreage on the east side of Beaver Creek Road into the urban growth boundary, specifically for light industrial and manufacturing. Since that time, the city has worked with Metro and substantially changed the zoning or the potential zoning for those things into mixed-use employment village and some other kinds of things which actually discourage light manufacturing and manufacturing companies from moving here. I think specifically what we need to do is to bring new jobs into Oregon City is to provide the incentives like Gresham is doing, which would be to temporarily suspend business license fees, reduce or put a holiday on systems development charges, and dramatically reduce the number of regulations and the requirements that are necessary to build new infrastructure, job infrastructure in Oregon City. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to forsake all of the environmental issues, but developers need to have a specific set of things that they need to do so they can have some assurance that their project will go forward.
Thank you, Dan. Well, I have a campaign document that will be made available at the end of this forum, which details my economic development plan. It's quite a lengthy document. I hope that you can all pick me up. The three main points of that document are, however, building a manufacturing base, emerging technologies core here in Oregon City, based around something that could help people manage these emerging technologies. We have a lot of new things available to us in Oregon, and Oregon City are a prime area for developing these type of things. I'd also like us to become a locally self-reliant community based on local agriculture, reducing our carbon footprint in the rest of the world and this area. And thirdly, I'd like to take advantage of Oregon City's varied and many natural resources and put those into a better use.
Thank you. Vision in Oregon City is a comparison where some like to compare us to Beaverton. Beaverton at 96,000 plus, us at 42,000 plus. They were putting in good sound industries there, and us with the millage running at about 20% capacity. We have a heavy public employee base to generate income, and very and stable commerce and industry that comes in and stays here. We have a lot of evolving businesses coming in and going out. We spend a lot of money on development. Much of that money has not proven too successful in its results. So what I'm saying is I think we have enough money here to do a good job to stabilize ourselves. But I think that we're actually not in the past or recent past utilizing these funds properly to do this kind of necessary before we proceed into the future.
Thank you, Peter. Well, I'm all about partnerships. I would like to see our city commissioners, our city staff, our Chamber of Commerce and Clackamas County work together to try and come up with some good incentives to bring businesses to our city here. It could be business incentives like urban renewal or SDC, system development charges being reduced for a certain period of time. But I want to bring everybody together to get the jobs here in Oregon City. The other thing is you can't forget that you have to support your current businesses. The buy local is an important thing for our current businesses to stay in business, keep their doors open, and keep people working. Thank you. Paul?
Thank you. I'd like to kind of restate the problem/opportunity. Right now, over the last 10 years, 80% of the new families coming into Oregon City have been forced to drive 15 to 20 miles to find a job that pays enough money to meet the house payment. The current plan, this approach is broken, and we've really done nothing to correct it. So what we have right now is an opportunity where we need people who understand the innovation world. I effectively sat in a think tank, and I come out of the high-tech business automation world. I know job development. We need people who know how to talk to these people, those businesses, and can bring them back into Oregon City. I believe I'm the right man for that job.
Thank you. And on with the second question. What is your opinion regarding the proposed development of the Rivers project? Can you start with you, Doug?
Okay, well, I supported and still support the Rivers project. The question for us is whether we're going to go ahead and extend the capability of the developers here to go ahead with the project. We talk about partnerships between the city and our economic partners. Those partnerships will require grant funds for the health effort. Both rivers and the next question will be across the area of the landfill are in fact one of the areas, the specific areas of urban renewal funds are intended to work on. And I think it's very important that we use those urban renewal funds to develop those properties, considering the importance of the coal as a natural resource, but also permitting the ability for us to have job-creating industries here, but we'll also have a sufficient investment there that have a good tax base coming from.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, I feel that the Rivers project is a pivotal project for our community. This $190 million project could offer many benefits to the residents of Oregon City. It takes an unproductive environmental brownfield and turns it into a community asset that would offer greater urban amenities to Oregon City residents, such as shopping, entertainment, restaurants, and plazas to host community events. Most recently, we've heard Cabela's is considering being an anchor at this lifestyle center. The Rivers promises to create 305 construction jobs and over 1,500 permanent jobs. This $190 million lifestyle center would generate up to $52 million in tax receipts, as Doug was talking about in our urban renewal district, that over the next 20 years, Oregon City could use and leverage for infrastructure in our downtown area that greatly needs infrastructure improvement. It would be a catalyst for business development in our North End area.
The city of Oregon City bought this property, or the majority of the property that the Rivers is situated on way back in 1992 or 1993. And it has languished down there, sitting, rotting away, for most of that time. I was not real familiar before the start of this election campaign with the Rivers project. However, after having been to a couple of urban meetings, met with the developers, I do support this project. I think that any development project that we have going on in Oregon City is critical in this time of economic downturn, and we need to bring whatever jobs, wherever they are, into Oregon City. And this is certainly a key project for us in Oregon City, and I support it.
Kathy?
Well, I believe that the Rivers project is a nail in the coffin of downtown. It will lead to decreased overall unemployment. There have been several studies showing that when you bring larger stores in, it takes smaller stores out and leads to laying off people in all of the smaller businesses or the businesses closing down. Family wage jobs in a large mall like that are approximately 10% of the population that's working there. And the people that are, the remainder are working at minimum wage or close to it with no benefits or little benefits. So I believe that the project is a folly and that we could do much better with that property.
Thank you. Lauren?
Okay, I think that we've already spent a great deal of money at the Cove in research, development, and planning, and preparing. And similarly, today we're right back when we started launching another campaign to figure out what are we going to do with this property. Seems a bit redundant and a bit wasteful. It seems to me that there are good uses for our property down there. So I suggested improving the park recreation and that type of use. But I think at some point in time there is a good plan waiting for us out there. But again, it's a little premature for where we are today. You're killing healthcare very well, guys, a new catalog first time out. And that's kind of where we are. We've got to start and build to that to the right. And I think the Cove is a real worthwhile project. And we have a real compliment to the city, but not one of high priority in my books.
Thank you, Betty.
Well, I'm in favor of the project. After walking door to door and talking to a lot of people, one lady told me that she was looking forward to an upscale mall in Oregon City. As far as the family wage jobs, one lady said it to me best. She said, minimum wage is better than no wage. So we need jobs, we need that development. So I say move forward.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. I'm very concerned about the economic payback of the rivers. I think that if it requires the amount of money that has been projected to be put into the rivers, the payback will not pay back in my lifetime, and it is really an open charge against my credit card or the credit card of the rest of the citizens without their approval. If I was given the opportunity to be mayor, I would love to ask the citizens of Oregon City if this is what they want. I would want them to see the profit and loss. I would want them to see the detail of the payback. And I would want to make sure it has a good economic model and it does not take money away from our kids, our schools, our police, our fire department, our libraries. And that's what I see a high possibility of happening.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. As far as the Rivers project, honestly, I haven't been in the mix of things on what's going on there. But the question is directed to me by the Oregonian, and I believe I mentioned stop. We redirect those resources back into the city in other creative ways. I'd rather see 314 husband and wife businesses supporting a great number of employees in the city, and we'll just sit there and blow out several $100 million. Personally, I think there ought to be some kind of thing set up with a website. When it's over $1 million, you guys get some input. If it's over $100 million, you definitely deserve some input. I'm not sure how to stop all that change or to do anything else with everything else when we vote. I don't know how to change a lot of things unless I can get your vote and get in there and see exactly what's going on. But under my watch, as far as whipping and beating the group any further, I don't think so. Everything should be looked at in its own merits and be judged from that particular point on. I believe the gardeners ought to be given free rein in this city, honestly.
Thank you. The next question, I think some of you have touched on it, but I will ask it again. What is your opinion regarding the proposed development of the Cove? Anyone will start with Daphne?
Okay, once again, I'm totally supportive of the potential $162 million mixed-use Cove development. This project, not unlike the rivers, would clean up another environmentally contaminated eyesore and turn it into a community amenity, all while creating hundreds of jobs. The initial theories of building 220 apartments could give the north end of our downtown a jump start. Further phases would add 180 waterfront condos, restaurants, medical and office space, and much more green space and trails. Unfortunately, this project has run into a few hiccups with the economy and is on hold. However, I remain committed to this project. Pacific Property Search and the city have invested far too much money to give up on it. The upsides are too great because it could potentially generate 475 construction jobs and over 300 permanent jobs.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, I think we come to the same place as the Rivers Project, and that is that, jobs are the number one most important thing we can do for our citizenry in the next 5 years. And my opponent seems to poo-poo minimum wage jobs, but we have to remember that I know that my daughter, who was 19, went 6 months without being able to get a minimum wage job at Safeway. And now she's moved up a little bit and going to college part-time at Clackamas Community. My middle daughter couldn't get a job all summer long for minimum wage. There are a lot of older folks in our community who have run into situations with the economy where one or both of them need to go back to work in part-time. And a lot of the jobs that are going to occur both at the Rivers and at the Cove Project are going to provide those kinds of jobs where our citizens don't have to drive to Beaverton, to Hillsborough, to Clackamas Town Center to go to work. They can work right here in Oregon City, and that's why I support these projects.
Thank you, Kathy. Well, my number one thing I'd like to show out is this is what we're doing almost every day. You'll see auctions on condominiums at the South Waterfront, the Covey River, Hayden Island, the Pearl District. They can't get rid of them. They're being sold for pennies on the dollar now. Why should we bring a project like that here to Oregon City, subsidize it, and then lose all of the money? Those developers on the Portland area, many of them have gone broke over these condominium projects. There is a natural habitat there that we need to protect. We need to take care of that environment. It's a breeding ground for fish. It's got a wonderful ecological system for the plants in that area. The proximity to Clackamas Park would provide a perfect venue for large concerts or public venues to come in. And I think it will be a moot point very soon when the Corps of Engineers reviews the ordinary high water mark. We won't be able to build there.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes. Back to a statement I made earlier, Beaverton 93 plus, Oregon City 92 or 32 plus. Or we want to be, we want to Beaverton. I'm going to reverse this and I went off and left my notes in the back of my wife's car when she dropped me in, so kind of photos of excellent earlier. Anyway, there's some real opportunity here. I think in the river, they should just go back to you for a minute. We have sandbars down there falling up the channels. We have gigantic rocks that really boat of any size coming up past years. Generally, safely up the channels. We've got a lock system down there that's closed off from blowing up the rivers. There's a lot of potential in the river, but that river is totally unnavigable and not a safe place to be right now with all the navigation dangers in the river. So let's go back and clean up that river a little bit.
Thank you, Betty. The One Lake Cove has many challenges. It's in a floodplain, it's a former gravel pit, it's an old cement plant. If there's a developer that wants to partner with the city to develop that area, I say that's a great opportunity for our city to clean that up and get things moving. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you again. I know we can do better than what the current plan is. It's full of contingencies. Many of us already know that as was previously stated, that it's a floodplain. It has problems with many of the assumptions that were made that might in fact lead us into even losses that may make the whole Cove project not feasible. It's all based around some thinking that is flawed. And at the same time, we've spent maybe $6.5 million of taxpayer money going through this process. And if in fact we did have some flawed assumptions and we went ahead, wow, this shows that we need some real change in direction of leadership in this city.
Thank you, James.
Again, on the statistics and the findings of what's going on there, and I've not at that point been totally privileged with what's going on with the Cove project. But what I have noticed on it is I don't see it as a value to the city, in all honesty. I think it's a blatant waste of your resources. However, I do believe that we can redirect that same resource and that same effort and energy, kick Metro out of some of the plans in the city, and go ahead and try to find ourselves a responsible position as a city. We're a leading city in this state. We should act as is. In all honesty, I don't think we need corporate anchors everywhere. I think we need to put our homeowners and our business people back to work who've been sequestered and kept from being in business. I came here with $65,000 in my pocket and couldn't get a door open in this city, but surprisingly, regardless. And I honestly say, if that happened to me, it happens to hundreds of others. Let's open the doors. I need your vote.
Thank you, Doug.
Yeah, I think the people will manage to answer the third question to the second. Let me go ahead and just make a comment that distinguishes those two areas dramatically. The Rivers Project, the city is not on it yet. And the individuals, I should say, that own that land, we need to support them for the highest value development we can have on that landfill site. We don't know. There's a difference between the coal project and the Rivers project. The city, I agree with Commissioner Holiday, that the city made a good decision in buying that land early on, even though we didn't have a plan for it, because any place that came up that would probably put out of a bankruptcy court, and the coal project, anything could have been there. The city got it, and we have control over it, and I think it's a tremendous investment, because we need a distinction between those two projects. One's publicly owned and the other is privately owned.
Thank you. The next question. In 2014, Oregon City will be required by charter to roll their water rates back to 1994 levels. Since current rates barely cover maintenance, and Oregon City is in the middle of the pack compared to surrounding municipalities, how will you address the negative budgetary impact of this essential service? We will start with Dan.
Oh, good, because this is actually my issue. I actually ran the ballot as the chief petitioner for the ballot initiative that created this alleged problem. That is back in 1996, we voted to roll back water rates to 1994 levels and require the city to raise rates no more than they couldn't raise rates more than 3% a year without a vote of the people. I was kind of surprised at this question, so I talked to the city attorney and the city manager today. Turns out that there was a federal lawsuit by the bondholders of South Fork Water in Oregon City. They won that lawsuit, so the water rate increase the rollback didn't actually take place. So there's two easy solutions to this, and one of them the city's going ahead with now, and that is to ask for a declaratory judgment from the federal judge to say that because of the time period that the water rate rollback won't happen, and if not, then the city commission can put that issue on the ballot and ask the people to make a reasonable choice and leave water rates where they are.
Thank you, Kathy.
Well, I think this is a difficult question, and I'm sure that there aren't any simple answers for it. First, I would like to look at the exact figures for maintenance and improvements that are going on in the water district right now. I'd also like to know where those improvements, if there are any going on, where they're being funded from, what budget they're coming out of. And lastly, I'd like to study it, to explain it honestly to the citizens, and to put it to a vote, just like Dan said.
Thank you, Norm.
The transportation systems underground for our water, both storm drains, sewer drains, and water, as well as natural gas lines, in many parts of the township are in severe critical need for attention. The maintenance department has a big job ahead of it in keeping up with the things as they expire. Engineers tell us that approximately lifespan and shelf life of an underground pipe is about 50 years. Many of our pipes have been in the ground 100 years and plus. And yet, when we think about what can we do to generate more money so we can have more money to develop, then that possibility what we'll have to do. But I think that we don't want to misdirect it and spend the awareness and will not be productive to the community. And one of those areas would be to maintain, bring up on grade, maintain our present water lines in the ground, sewer lines, etc.
Thank you, Betty.
I think with the water rollback, we're going to have to go to educating our community and working with the citizens and asking them to
vote to allow the rates to stay as they are.
Thank you. We have opportunities to resolve a lot of issues as a city commission and as a mayor. But one of the things we can't do is we can't tax and fee citizens out of their homes. We have to be responsible. We have to be responsible for the infrastructure, the cost of the infrastructure that we've got to support. We have to be responsible to the citizens that live here. I think we need to take and put it back to the vote of the people. We've got to pay for what we get. We can't give you free lunch. This is an opportunity for smart people, honest people, and honest dialogue, citizen to citizen, and that's who I am and that's how I believe.
Thank you, James.
As far as bringing the cost back to, I think it's 1994, it would be nice to bring the gold standard down too as well. I think what we need to do is evaluate how we obtain our water sources, how it's stored, protected, and made available to all the Oregon City residents. I believe some privatization might be explored in our areas of being able to store water. And I cite Israel. Israel went into privatization, and we're now processing seawater and getting ready to pump that into the Iliad Valley, expecting about 14 million people to show up. I think that kind of technology might help a little city like ours. Also, I noticed when we're doing road work and other repairs, we're using good quality drinking water. Why aren't we using water that may not be as nice, so to speak? Because I see them pumping a lot of that water through their machinery and equipment. And those guys, by the way, are out of the city getting $40, $60 an hour to do that work. I would like to see us get our jobs back here and start to stop outsourcing Oregon City. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
My recollection is that the rollback was a period of time, and a couple of bonds are going to be paid off, and the rollback would be based on that. We did have periods of times where we did not increase the water rate by 3%. And if that rollback occurs, then I would like to see, in fact, what revenue could be generated if, in fact, we apply the 3% for the whole period of time since that particular initiative had passed. And so I think that's something we have to look at. I don't know the answer to that at this point.
Thank you, Daphne.
This 1996 charter amendment has literally handcuffed the city's ability to manage our water utility in a responsible way. And this charter amendment, as Dan was explaining, has cost the taxpayer thousands of dollars on lawsuits to figure out how to handle this. I'm going to go with Dan's explanation of the legal battles that we've fought to this point, but they're not over. We're still paying attorneys, like you were saying, to see if the charter amendment will stand when the water bonds were paid back in 2014. And if the court decision is upheld, our water utility will be okay. If it's not upheld, Oregon City will be faced with 20-year-old rates without the factors of inflation and population growth factored in. And so at that point, we're going to have to engage the community in a discussion of how current leadership should proceed.
Thank you. Next question. What is your position on property annexations, including both small individually owned parcels and larger developments, such as those in the area of Beaver Creek Road and Park Place? We'll start with Kathy.
Thank you. Currently, I don't see any reason for annexations of large parcels. Annexations cost both the property owner money and cost the city money to put the infrastructure into those annexations. That is not to say for small individual islands within the city or near the city that those should not go through. Those should be studied on an individual basis. I think that we have enough property in town right now, infill property, that we can deal with what we have and go forward with what we've got currently.
Thank you, Ron.
Yes, I'm a great supporter of the infill policies as well. We have a great deal amount of properties on the city limits that could be developed for better utility to the city, rather than going out and opening up new sections which we are responsible for with the developer to put in all of the requirements, the street scrubbing, etc. There's a lot of expense to us. In addition, is to put in more students into our schools. Right now, the population is so much static or standstill, so we could probably absorb that. But if we really wanted this big town and open this up to try and build a large residential area, building area, if you please, it could cause quite a problem, not only on highways, roads, access students areas, but also on our schools, medical facilities, hospitals, etc. So again, it's going to require some examination and caution before we roll off the end of the board, before we check to see how deep the water is.
Thank you, Hayden. Well, Oregon City's charter says that all annexations, large and small, will be voted on by the people. So if the citizens of Oregon City choose to annex property, then we will look forward to working with them and helping them out with their plans. Thank you, Paul.
Annexations are kind of a difficult issue. Basically, yes, I agree with annexations, and there are good annexations and there are bad ones. I recently proposed, as an example, a good annexation would be the lands south of Kanina, industrial job-creating lands that could be used for creating a better and more sustainable future. Those types of annexations were not dealt with by the city. In fact, they were just said, we don't need to do that. Well, we have lands up on Beaver Creek Road and some of the lands in Park Place. They didn't pencil out to the taxpayers. They were going to cost each and every taxpayer. The cost of developing land or lots, the Kitzhofer study said, was about $50,000, and we weren't going to get the SDC fees, so somebody had to pay for it. They didn't pencil out. We need job lands annexed.
Thank you, James.
I think my answer on that was if somebody is annexing it, they're probably losing it. If it's for the developer's sake, I would possibly be the guy standing against it. However, if it was a collective group of citizens in a specific area and they had a desire to tie into services, then it would be up to them, but not a force issue. And I only mention that because today in my talking to folks, I asked the person this question. He said, well, about 20 years ago, you had an issue. And the issue was that their annexation was forced because of their small property sizes in a group of collective homes. And so it cost $50,000 to tie into the service system, et cetera. He said, well, it's 20 years later, and that still hasn't happened. So what's the point and what's the purpose? Now, that I think it alludes to what he said, there are bad ones and good ones. So for the most part, it'll probably be with whatever the people collectively wanted to do.
Thank you. Doug?
I did have a lot of good annexations. The one area that concerns me the most is the one around Beaver Creek, because if we continue this predominantly demonstration areas, this is where I think we need to sit down with the college and the high school to find out what the best job mix is. One of the things simply about that particular area. The reason that that isn't all light industrial, I think a good 50% or more of it is because the residents of Berlin are concerned about having industrial right across the creek. So there was a gradation in the kind of zoning that occurred there from light industrial, general employment area, and then residential, general employment and industrial. So that's why that zoning occurred. It met the metro requirements in terms of industrial. It is one I have the most concern about because I think it would be valuable being annexed in.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I'll piggyback a little bit on Doug here. The last 4 years, we've engaged our community in an extensive public process and jointly created the Beaver Creek and Park Place concept plans, which would have added 933 acres to Oregon City for both housing and, as Doug was referring to, the job creation lands out in Beaver Creek. Regrettably, most of these properties have failed to be annexed into the city. So, in deciding what the right level of growth is for Oregon City, we have to understand the context in which Oregon City lies. And in the last 25 years since I've lived here, over 1 million people have moved to Oregon in the metro area, and the growth projections remain as strong for the next 25. So, as for Oregon City as a regional center on the outside southeast edge of the metropolitan area, Oregon City is going to continue to face the pressures of growth. A city like ours has the planning staff, the codes, and the resources to develop to the highest standards possible for urbanization of a growing population. So if a property is going to be urbanized, it belongs inside of a city.
Thank you, Dan.
It seems some of these questions were built for me. In my first term on the city commission, I am the person who drove voter-approved annexations for Oregon City. I campaigned on it, I made it a campaign promise, and I made it happen in my first term. I support the concept today. I believe that the collective citizens of Oregon City have the intelligence that says this project may be good for us now, maybe it's not good for us now, but they've made decisions about Beaver Creek Road and about the Park Place plan. I don't necessarily agree or disagree with either of those decisions, but I do support the opportunity for the citizens to make a decision about how big Oregon City is at any particular place in time. I do, though, believe that when we do annex some of these properties, that we have to start looking at the way that we are developing and some of the codes to make it easier for once someone has started a project, for them to get the thing completed and concentrating on life safety, building safety, fire safety. Those are the code issues that Oregon City should be really enforced.
Thank you. The next question. What actions should be taken, if any, to improve the current state of the historic facilities, such as adding the Oregon Trail and Interpretive Center, the Museum of the Oregon Territory, and Oregon Leisure House? I hope I pronounced that correctly. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Salvador.
Okay. Oregon City has a tremendous history and culture behind it. It is, of course, the capital of the Northwest of the Regional Oregon Territory. A lot of history was born here, and these rivers were a very important part of it, as was the surrounding territory, not only for the Native Americans living here, but for those people who were coming. And we have a great deal of history here. When I'm traveling from right there back on the eastern seaboard, I'm amazed at how they're preserving their history and living for it and have goals for the future with it. And here we seem to not be in contact with that, which is unfortunate because we have so much here. San Francisco's first plot plan for development was filed here in Oregon City, the territorial government seat. And there's just so much that we have here that we have a duty to ourselves and to our generations yet unborn to preserve the integrity of the history of the city.
Thank you, Betty.
I would agree with that. There's a lot of history here, and we do need to preserve it. History is an issue not just with us, but with the county and the state, and there's a lot of questions on what to do with that. So I would say we need to not put money into it until we have a good, solid plan to go with.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you. I'm the land use chair of the Kenema district. It's the only National Registered Historic District in Clackamas County. I'm probably the only one here this label has gone through the National Cultural Trust and taken courses on how to make profitable historic decisions around making viable entities. I care. I live in an 1880 house that my wife and I restored. It's my wife's grandmother's or great-grandmother's, and passed down maternally, and we had the opportunity to buy it from Grandma. But when I rebuilt it, I had to learn, and I took courses from Denise McGriff locally many years ago. I learned a lot about doing these things. I care. I know we're going to need partners, and I'm really ready to do the job.
Thank you, James.
How are you doing there? I like that. That was great. What I think that we should be able to do there is really help out these cultural centers in this community, because in all honesty, I see it kind of sequestered. We've got a lot of hidden artifacts here that need to be kind of brought up to the surface in a lot of respects. As far as the end of the Trail and Interpretive Center, my wife and I went there the other day. It was rather an interesting visit. It's closed down to the public. How much did that cost? And who had long-term plans to keep it open? Kelly Field keeps coming up to me everywhere I go, and I don't see how we can actually bulldoze it all down and give it back, but there's enough land out there to give something back to some of the collective men who would like to see a project like that go forward. As far as the Interpretive Center, those people that are working there would like to open it up, but they're being stopped by the city. You figured that one out. I think we need to do something with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Yes, I think it's really important for this, it hasn't been set out academically, but I think it's in a critically important locations, every other green where the kind of writings, okay. I think we probably would have to look for a more passive interpretive center, one that requires less than what is sample. But the other thing of this is very important to our history because it's only existing Hudson's Bay structure that exists in the Pacific Northwest. It's the last one. I think it has tremendous historic significance from that standpoint, but really just as much so as the Lofton House does. We try to work it out to have some kind of relationship with the National Park Service, but I don't think that's going to be terribly promising with the current deficit of the federal government. So, but we have to find ways to really bring that building is a lot of work, and we have to find ways to support that. We have to tremendous volunteers help and work through that.
thank you. Kathy?
Well, I'm going to address the facilities one by one too. First of all, the city doesn't own the Museum of the Oregon Territory. It's run by the Clackamas County Historical Society. So I'd love to see that open more than it is. You know, history, as everyone's saying, is such an important part of our community that as a city, I don't feel that we have the financial obligation to keep that running. Now, the End of the Oregon Trail Center is a little different story because the city does own that facility and the land. And a nonprofit has been running it, but ran into financial difficulties, and it's not feasible for them to continue. So, but I don't currently see in our budget how, in our budget priorities with police, fire, water, storm drain management, sewer streets, where funding an interpretive center is in our plans. I am, however, committed to keeping the State Visitor Center open, whether it relocates from the End of the Oregon Trail Center or if we can keep it there. And that I would love to see the Ermitinger House preserved. As Doug was saying, it's got a very special history, it's authentic, and those are the kinds of things I would like to keep going.
Thank you, Dan.
So, back to the early 90s. And again, I didn't support the End of the Oregon Trail Interpretive Center when it started. We talk about history, but what about the 50 years of history that my dad and his dad before him had playing ball and teaching their kids ball on Kelly Field? So, history is a relative thing. More importantly, when the city brought this plan up, they used, radically overinflated numbers of the people that would come to this interpretive center. And 10, 15 years later now, what we have is three rotting hulks sitting on a mound at what was Kelly Field. So we have to really think about the things that we're doing. The Ermitinger House absolutely is important, and we can preserve that, and we can find a way to fund the preservation of the Ermitinger House. The Museum of the Oregon Territory was built by Clackamas County, and I guess it's their responsibility.
Thank you, Kathy.
Well, like I said earlier, my family's been in this area for 104 years, so preserving the history is very important to me. My husband and I, and all the members of our family, are founding members of the Smithsonian National Museum of the Native American in Washington, D.C. We're very much in touch with the cultural ancestry of the entire nation as well as this area. I would like to bring new partnerships into this area. I believe that I have the skills and the contacts to bring new partnerships into this and revitalize our historic areas and incorporate those into our economic vision as well as just a historical vision.
Well, thank you. And that is the last question of the prepared questions, so now we're going to get into a little bit of exciting time. This is questions from the audience. The first question, Tom will bring the microphone to you, and we can come to the middle. You have 5 seconds to ask a question, and you have to direct it to a specific candidate. And the candidate will have 1 minute to respond.
So we're open for questions. First person.
Rob Crocker, I'm a small business owner in downtown Oregon City. We know that the Main Street Oregon City program has been wildly successful. It's a model of success in the state of Oregon. I want to hear from Mr. Edgar how he would plan on helping to ensure that there's funding for Main Street Garden City moving forward into the future.
Well, you guys have done a great job with Main Street. Roy Purdy is an excellent administrator, and we all should be very grateful. We turned over businesses down there, so not all of these new jobs or businesses are down there open, so it's not a new building that's been built. But what we need to know is this enterprise type zone needs to, you guys have obligated yourself to partner with the city. I believe in that partnership. I believe that a lot of the urban renewal money that's been generated and used for building city halls and McLaughlin improvement, this money should really be reinvested into downtown Oregon City. I'd like to see a real parking lot built downtown. I think we have an opportunity to do that, and that parking lot will eliminate a great deal of the problems of future and expanded development.
Next question.
Yes, I guess this question is for the people that are on the commission now. As you well know, we don't agree on the urban renewal project because the people in town aren't allowed to vote on it. It's the commission that votes on it. And I think some of the things are done, like the $200,000 for a fair resident investment, $500,000 for 2 houses down by the museum investment, and $1 million plus for a developer down here that had for the architectural fee. I'd like to ask the people on the commission, how do you defend that urban renewal commission? And I'd like to ask each person if they would allow us to vote on urban renewal projects.
That was 4 questions.
We can only ask, right, we can only ask one candidate with the one I would like to, Doug.
For one thing, I wasn't responsible for the $200,000 loan. I wasn't on the commission at that time. But in general, if you're asking for approval for a specific project, we wouldn't have any. Developers are going to come in and make commitments and funds, and it has no clue at all whether the program is going to go forward. The urban renewal programs intend to have those funds available for the development. If we have a developer that wants to set up a project, and it's going to invest a lot of money to plan that project to begin with, and have it knocked off of a voter approved bond, I don't think we'll have any projects down there.
Next question. And? That's all right. Is that even please?
I'm Jenny Moffett. I'm concerned about the renewal of both and paper companies' toxic air emissions permit that's coming up. Under the proposal, standards that continue releasing hundreds and hundreds of tons of nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, volatile organic chemicals, and other toxins that are associated with respiratory illness, cardiovascular diseases, cancer, and a number of different neurological, reproductive, and developmental problems. So my question to you, Doug, is should we go on allowing Blue Hand Paper Company, Clackamas County's #1 source of air pollution, to continue on with business as usual?
Well, I would answer that is really DEC's responsibility. We do not control air emissions in the codes that apply. These things are grandfathered in, and I realize it's problematic. We're faced with a situation where is the paper not going to close down? Which may under bankruptcy, I don't know, but it's still our biggest for-profit, it's not making it fairly, for-profit employer in the city, and we have to deal with it in some fashion. But I think there's still over 200 jobs that are there.
Okay, remember we've got to keep our questions to 5 seconds.
I'd like to respond to that.
Is that allowed at this time? I'm sure there's going to be more. We've got a lot of lonely candidates up here and we want to ask them questions, but if it's okay for Paul to respond, you got to move it, Paul.
One of the important issues is maintaining an adequate tree canopy around Oregon City. The trees that we
As an example, down along the Clackamas Park, we cut down huge trees that sequestered a great deal of carbons. And this affects the air and our quality of life. And no one seems to really care. I do. Because I want to pass something on to the next generation, to my children and grandchildren, a better world with good air and good water. And I think that we have not been the best stewards of the environment here in Oregon City.
I'd like to have an opportunity at this one myself. Growing up, I lived in Jennings Lodge, which is, sort of down past the Clackamas River, on down through the Willamette there. And on bad days as a kid, way down the River Road and Rockland Boulevard, we could smell the mill in Oregon City. And I'm not talking smell it, I'm talking eyes burning smelling it. So if we talk about the mill today versus the mill 30, 40, 50 years ago, it's a completely different environmental place than it was back then. So I think, the mill has gone through numerous iterations of improvements to its air and water quality stuff. And I really believe that to talk about closing the mill for the 2 or 3% improvement you're going to get in its emissions to eliminate, 200 plus family wage jobs is a bad idea.
Okay, another question. Is it in place?
Yeah, Rick Campbell, my question is for Kathy. It seems Oregon City is having a great difficulty getting its act together vis-a-vis the library. I was wondering what your opinion on that was and what your plans would be for a decent library in the community.
Well, it looks like we're moving ahead with the library at Easton School, and I'm excited to see that happening. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing with the old Carnegie building at that time, once it's vacated. It's a lovely library, and I would like to see it stay as something to do with the library. And I'm very happy to see that Easton is being utilized and has a bigger venue than just the library.
Okay, we've got just a lot of questions. Okay, right over here. So Yates, I've got another blue heron question. I'll ask Kathy, or anybody else can jump in too. What is your vision long-term for blue heron? There are 200 jobs there, but there's 17 acres down there as well, and they're not paying very much in the way of property prices. So what is your vision for blue heron for the next 50 years?
My vision for blue heron would be, don't shoot the messenger here, but I believe that we need to re-vision that entire area. We're not going to be able to take the buildings down, because if we do that, we will not be able to rebuild on the site because of current federal laws. We would have to make it into something that I've seen in several other areas, Alexandria, Virginia, some areas of New York, Boston, where they've taken old municipal munition sites and things, built them into lodges, cultural areas, restaurants, and made do, we'd have to make them a lot better. But really redo the site so that it could be something that would be profitable and something we could be very proud of.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and I agree with what you're saying, that if it's possible for the building now to keep operating under probably very, very difficult operating conditions, I think what would be nice is to build it into kind of a tourist capability. Very few people these days have seen a major industry in operation. If we could actually have many windows where people aren't going to interfere with the work that's going on, but to see the activities that are going in Acton now, I think would be very educational. And I think that could be done into whatever kind of development we might be able to do there. I think the facts are true. The Falls are the number one tourist location. And so I think there are tremendous opportunities there. And I think the world could be part of that if it's going to be here in 50 years. If it can be, that's great.
I would, Mr. Rose,
Okay, we have to be careful about intervening into private business and private enterprise. We have to give the people my wife, Grandpa Smith, started at the mill working for Mr. Hawley. He grew up being one of the managers there. It provided for our family and it's the reason why I have the house that I live in today. I respect all of those people that work at the mill. They have a right. But as a government, we have to be very careful about where do we go and step on that entity. Also at the same time, how far should we be investing into that entity? But it does have property that could be a great site for incubator type businesses. We have the opportunity in that site to look at redevelopment should it not become viable. But that's up to them.
Thank you. I'm the Middletown boy myself, not here, but in Northern California, Humboldt County Rivers, but I go simply in support for the wood industry. But our wood industry in Oregon, our pulp industry has been lost to our own ignorance in a way to Japan and Canada. And the time has come when maybe the mill and paper pulp and so forth is very important, and it's a good viable income for the whole state. But we have to take into consideration moving that mill. Unfortunately, or fortunately, as the case might be, it requires a great deal of water to operate the pulp mill. So we've got to be close to a water source, water supply. And where they are for that purpose, it's pretty convenient to meet it. But times are changing, and we have to reassess our ideas and look where we are and what we can see for the future before proceeding. When I do proceed, we're going to be a sound movement.
Well, over the times tonight, everybody's talked about history, and we all have to ask ourselves, why are we all sitting here in Oregon City tonight? And that is because of a mill at that location way back in the early 1800s. And so, and there's been an operating mill on either side of the river since that time. So I'm absolutely opposed to doing anything from a city standpoint to forcing out the mill or asking, once that mill, if it does close down, then I think then we have an opportunity to talk about what's going to happen. But prior to them closing on their own, I wouldn't do anything to hinder them producing the kinds of jobs that they do. I know I've got friends from high school who, played football, didn't really get an education, came out, and the only thing they could do was work at the mill, and they're working there today, and they've supported families and raised 4 or 5 kids and sent them to college through, good hard work at that mill, and I absolutely support it for as long as it'll operate.
Like so many questions were answered by other candidates in the first time, it was just one first question, so we're going to have them present the question briefly and ask other candidates.
I see that we change the procedure here, and I asked my question on one person without answer, but I'd like to hear where many people stand on the interview, and other than Doug, for him, a good friend, but I'd like to know where you all stand on the interview, allowing people to become involved in some of the decisions that the city commission makes. That's just that simple. And it's just it's very simple. Yes or no? It doesn't take a lot of reading.
I'm in favor of allowing the voters to vote on any substantial urban renewal bonding. I think that's only fair and responsible. We have to first of all understand that if the money is being taken away over a long period of time from higher priority values, such as schools and my kids, your kids, we're right now taking about $850,000 a year away from the Oregon City School District, and we're cutting down the classrooms, or the size of the classrooms getting bigger and the number of days are getting smaller. This is wrong. Our best product that we can ever produce out of this city is an educated next generation, and we cannot forget that.
Go ahead, Nancy. Ed, I'd like to jump in and answer your question. First of all, I am not supportive of having every urban renewal project voted on by the voters. And Doug said it quite well. It really places the city at a competitive disadvantage because what developer would ever wait around
It's, you know, you can see in the rivers and coves, each developer, for those who have already sunk in $5 million in soft, what they call soft costs, before a shovel has hit the ground. And could you imagine someone coming to our community and wanting to invest that kind of money and not knowing whether you'd get the payback on it or ever get to build it? It won't work. Number two, we have representative government these days in the state of Oregon here. And as far as the public process, we certainly do have a lot of public comment and process. When we created the Urban Renewal District, we had a massive community involvement, and every project we have multiple reviews at different stages of development, from Planning Commission to City Commission to Urban Renewal Commission. Plenty of places to comment.
We have time for one more person. If you do, otherwise we'll move on. Okay, Norm, and then Dustin.
Who's not an answer, yes or no, it's no big deal. All they have to say is yes, I figure the people who are in the city voting on urban renewal or no. You don't have to go into a long speech, it's just.
Well, the question asked was ordered as a speech.
They do have 60 seconds to respond. Okay, just go ahead, Norm.
I think we're going to war. Basically, who has the gold? Who? In this case, they're spending our money. And I think the public should damn well have a voice in this matter.
Thank you. Now, the next segment of this is each candidate will ask one of the opponents a question. You have 5 seconds to ask your question, and the opponent has 1 minute to respond. Let's start with Betty. I have no question to ask. Great, then we'll go to Paul.
Doug, we bought 2 houses on Second and Tumwater using urban renewal money without a business plan. This is costing our families money. Give us an idea why you voted to buy those houses that have no business plan, no economic model to them.
Well, actually, there was a plan for the plans being by the wayside, and I think probably we should do something else with those properties and probably sell them out. Unless they can be incorporated into the common aid in some decent fashion.
Okay. Thank you. James? You can pass.
Why do you think I'd make a great leader for this? I thank you for your vote.
Well, James, considering my vast experience like you, well, you may not have all the experience that I have, but I think that any one of us who brings a fresh new idea, a fresh new vision, some common sense, we can make a difference. We can lead the city in a better direction. And that's what I think you can. You have good business experience. And one other thing you have that's really an important value, he has a responsible heart. He understands the needs of other people before himself. And that's really an important value, and I appreciate that in you. Thank you for recognizing that.
Thank you. No question?
Mr. Hager, what specific action should the city take to promote industrial and economic development? Specific actions.
Well, first of all, we need an economic development director that's more effective than I think the one we have currently. And that's an indictment, but I'm not politically correct. I'll call a spade a spade. We need someone who understands innovation. The new world, the new generation of jobs is not like it was before. I remember going over to Japan with my old company corporation. I was with NCR Corporation. We were devising and designing the new world of electronics. UPC scanning, electronic banking, when no one knew what it was. And when I got over there, we had a factory there, and I could see the Japanese building things for us, and I knew we had to do something smarter And we had to create innovative, trained, educated young people. We need to improve our investments in our schools and the people that live here.
Thank you. Kathy, your question?
I have no questions of my opponents.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to pass to.
Thank you. Kathy?
I have a question for Daphne. What is appropriate for you and the Urban Renewal Committee to pay the Cove developers attorney's fees to negotiate the development agreement for the Cove project?
Well, Kathy, I think that these are standard kinds of things that happen in a public-private partnership. That the $1.6 million that you're talking about paid for a lot more than attorney fees. It paid for feasibility studies on the ground there, how deep they'd have to drill for pilings. It paid for architectural drawings. It did a soil analysis, a water analysis. It designed the streets, changing Agnes Avenue and doing a roundabout. And you have to understand that the $1.6 million, we own the property and we now own the product. So whether it's Pacific Parker that develops the Cove or not, we own all the property and the goods to have somebody else walk in and take over this project. Should it be necessary?
Thank you, Lauren. Do you have a question for your opponent?
My opponent sits to my left. I might ask her one question. Lily, would you agree with me if I were to say it's fall and winter time, it's time for a fall house cleaning?
That's a pretty loaded question, but yeah, I could clean my house always. No problem. My house needs to be clean, you're right.
Oh, I didn't do that.
I know.
Okay, well, done with our segments, so we'll go to the closing remarks. Everything will have 1 minute, and since we started with Paul, we'll start with Betty down there and move forward this way. Betty?
Well, this is my first time to run for public office, so I have a lot to learn, and I look forward to learning everything that I need to make good decisions. I'm very involved with the Citizen Involvement Council. It's one of my highest things. Citizen involvement is a huge personal project for me. So hopefully you'll give me a vote and support me, and remember, mom's the way.
Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, well, I'm experienced somewhat. Some folks are actually overexperienced, and if you're getting too old for this, but I don't agree with that. I do bring a lot of experience. I'm a good hard worker, and I've much more all my life. In fact, I've been dedicated to some type of service or another. As a house paper deliverer, contractor in the San Times, and there was mail and so forth. I was serving, I thought, by delivering papers and so forth, and there was in the trucking industry as well as anything that I've ever done has some element of service to it. And I think of the hundreds of kids we serve, troubled children who are dropouts with the school alternative education here in Oregon City. I'm proud of this, so I've lost my life, and I'll be very proud to serve you as a city commissioner.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yes, I'd like to let you know I'm a scientist, and one of the things that comes very naturally to someone that is a scientist is research. I believe that if you elect me, you'll find that I go out of my way above and beyond to do all of my research to make sure that it's conclusive and supported. And it comes from realistic and basis foundations. We need to get our school district back to something that will help sustain our community. We cannot expect businesses to come here without a good school district to educate our children. I believe I'm ready to listen. I'm eager to create a new global vision for Oregon City, and I want to help lead the way to create a new, self-reliant, vibrant community. Let me stand up for you at City Hall.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, once again, my name is Dan Holiday. I think that if you listen to me tonight, you understand that everything that I've done in my public service here in Oregon City has been about the citizens here and about maintaining jobs and about taking care of our city. and I'd like to have the opportunity to do that again. I think we've come to a crossroads not only in our country, but in our communities here, where we have to make the decision whether the city or the county or the national government is going to control every aspect of our lives, or whether we're going to have the opportunity to be independent thinkers and make new decisions that fit each individual property owner, each individual business owner, each individual homeowner. And so I support those kinds of ideals, and as we've seen in the questions tonight, I supported them way back 20 years ago, supporting voter-approved annexations. I ran the first bond measure, or the first ballot measure that requires a vote for both general obligation revenue bonds for the city of Oregon City, which was approved and is in the charter today. So I have a proven track record of fighting for the citizens of Oregon City, and I ask to send me back into the city commission again. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Well, talking about track records, so these past 4 years on City Commission, I've created a record of being fiscally responsible and using your tax dollars wisely. 3 years ago, after you, the citizens, joined the fire district, I made a promise to all of you to freeze tax rates for the next 5 years. Excuse me, re-elected, I plan on keeping that promise. We recently purchased Easton School to use for a new library out of existing budgeted revenues. Another fiscal move, conservative move, is we took another old building, the Plain Clinic, and renovated it for a new energy-efficient city hall at a lower price per square foot than building a new one. With our sound fiscal management, we have even raised our bond ratings, saving you the taxpayer money. So looking forward to the next 4 years, I will continue to work to create new opportunities for businesses and jobs on Main Street and in the rest of our community. I ask for your vote in planning Oregon City's future.
Thank you. Doug?
Yes, I'm going to go back to land use issues because I think the growth of the city and Southwest is important. I will tell you that in Park Place, putting the boundary was extended out, I voted against that. I did vote in favor of the Beaver Creek extension. But I believe that once that's happened, once the boundary has been set, then the property owners have expectations in terms of the value of their property. It has potential urban use, and I will probably, unless I see something terribly funny about it, vote for every annexation across the road to avoid the people. I won't kill it. I won't kill it if the commission. I won't kill the commission. I don't know if it's some reason. But I think we have to stop actually bringing more land to our urban road boundary because we do have sufficient infill areas over. And I believe that we also should sit down with our neighbors in Beaver Creek because we need to find out what we can do in that area that meets their vision as well as our needs.
Thank you, James.
It's said that people acting together as a group can accomplish things which no individual acting alone could ever hope to bring about. Folks, I need a good team if I'm going to take your city into the paradigm shift that's approaching us. I believe right now we've got great opportunities in front of us. People come to me and they get argumentative about certain things, and I go, look, we've got acres of diamonds here we haven't even explored. This is a great city, and it's going to be going to some great places. But you, the people, have input. Recently, I sat at a meeting where 300 people in Beaver Creek didn't get notified that somebody wants to annex stuff in. That's not going to happen under my watch. The courthouse is nothing but contention. Maybe that's when if somebody needs it. That's a lot of square footage down there, folks, so we can move out with their start. I truly believe that we should have a cultural corridor going all the way out to Home Depot area, include the center and everything else that we're kind of leaving on the side out there, and pair them with independent business. Let's put in right businesses and start to do some things here. As far as bringing the city to Eco Green Food Center and start to help people, maybe you can create a light center with a food clothing and business opportunity training.
Thank you.
Thank you, really. Oh, great deal for just having a chance to introduce myself. I don't want to see businesses like Morgan Distributing run away from Oregon City. That took away a lot of jobs. We have people who've been in leadership that really don't understand. They don't understand the needs of families, raising kids, and getting them educated. They've lost track of a lot of the priorities. So why should I talk about it? Well, sometimes to me, it's common sense. God gave me a lot of common sense. I've had a reasonably high level of success in my life. It didn't happen because I was dumb or I worked hard.
I had a good family. But given the opportunity and your blessing, I will work for this city, and I will work for every citizen, and I will treat you fairly and honestly.
Thank you. And just to repeat, for the mayor position, we have Paul Edgar, James Hamilton, Doug Mary. For position 1, Daphne West, Dan Halliday, Catherine Roth. For position 4, Ron Stewart, and Debbie Young. Now, I'd like to say that please mail your ballots in time for going to arrive at the Clackamas County Elections Office by 8 p.m. on Election Day, which is November 2nd. Postmarks do not count. Ballots for the November 2nd general election will be mailed this Friday, so you should be receiving your ballots later this week. They may be deposited at any of the following locations during regular business hours until 8 p.m. And at the outdoor ballot drop, Oregon City Hall, indoor ballot drops, Clackamas County Elections Office, and I think at some libraries also you can drop it, the ballots off if you don't have to mail it in. Thank you very much, and I will turn it over to Tom.
Thank you, Christine. We'd like to thank you all for being here this evening on behalf of CFC. And William's here now. And again, William, what we said earlier, we wanted to thank you. You've organized these for the last few years. You've done a great job. This would not happen without William's efforts. We also wanted to thank our sponsors one more time for this evening, the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Coalition in Main Street, Oregon City, the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association, and the Abernathy Center. Thank you all for your participation. Special thanks to the Willamette Falls Media Center and Melody for taping all this, digitally taping it all this evening. I think that is it. So without further ado, I think the candidates will be around for the rest of the evening to answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Please vote.